KFI AM 640. It's later with Mo Kelly. We're live everywhere on the iHeartRadio app. And I'm told that Stefan has done his latest homework assignment. Not too long ago, we had a conversation with Gary Hoffman talking about the TV show Adolescence on Netflix. I loved it, and I loved it because Gary Hoffman told me about it, watched it. It was everything he said it was and more. And Stefan, unbeknownst to me, actually started watching it. And he gave me just a little bit of his review. We'll get to that a little bit later on. There's a lot going on right now. Oh, and some show programming notes. Tomorrow, I'll be joined on the show by David Ayer, who is the director of A Working Man, which is Jason Statham's latest movie. He's also the director of The Beekeeper with Jason Statham. He's also the director of Suicide Squad and so much more. But we're going to be talking about A Working Man, which hits theaters late tomorrow. You know, they do the late Thursday night showing and then officially in theaters on Friday. And on Monday, the 31st, I'll be joined by Harry Bosch, Titus Welliver. Yeah, it's the coolest 3 hours in all talk radio, baby. Yeah, that's what I try to tell you. So Titus Welliver is going to join us on Monday, talking, of course, about Bosch Legacy Season 3, which is thought to be the final season. No official announcement. Of course, I'll ask him, see what we can find out. Big show tonight, though. Before we get to all of that in the coming days, we have some Dodger updates. The Dodgers are going to be visiting the White House next month on April 7th. And there's this new Dodgers Panda Express promotion, which I'm so giddy about. I think I'm going to sign up for it right now. It is so cool. And I love me some Panda Express. And we have a Waymo update. Waymo is expanding, so that means Tawala Sharp is going to make even more money from Waymo. I guess he probably got a raise and a bonus for all the good words that he's been putting in for Waymo. He'll deny it, but we know better. And remember how I tell you how there's no cancel culture? Well, tonight is a no cancel culture show. In hour 2, we'll play you the Rush trailer. You know, Alec Baldwin, that movie, which unfortunately led to the death of Helena Hutchins. Well, we're going to play that trailer tonight. Obviously, Alec Baldwin still has a career, so he's doing okay, all things considered, not even talking about his reality TV show. Mel Gibson, there was the announcement that he's going to begin shooting The Resurrection of Christ, obviously the sequel to The Passion of the Christ, and he's going to start filming that this summer from what I'm told, so we can pick it up there. We have the Viral Load with Tiffany Hobbs, and get this. If you attended USC, and I didn't attend USC, I did some like postgraduate film work there. If you were to attend USC, would you be okay with the idea of Snoop Dogg speaking at commencement? I don't know. Snoop Dogg is a very funny individual. I think he is a fantastic story, the totality of his life and career. But I don't know, assuming, you paid $100,000 a year to go to USC. If Snoop Dogg came up there as the keynote speaker for your graduation, I don't know how well that's going to go over. Well, we're going to find out very soon, as he's up to be the 2025 keynote speaker, if I'm not mistaken. We'll get into that. There is so much going on. Let me say good evening to the crew. Mark Ronner, how you doing, sir?
I want Snoop Dogg to hand me my deplizzle.
Deplizzle. The shizzle.
Yeah. Good to see you, Mo.
It's good to see you. I don't know Snoop. Met him a few times in the course of working in the music industry. I think he is a fantastic rags to riches story, how he's reinvented himself over the years, where he went from rapper to actor to cooking show co-host to just this personality. He's a personality at this point. People probably don't even know him for his music in large part. They know him for just his TV commentary, his sports commentary on the Olympics and boxing matches, that kind of thing.
I thought he was kind of known now for being the elder statesman of weed ambassadorship.
That too. I mean, it's not just one thing. When you think of Snoop Dogg, there are a number of things that may come to mind if you're familiar with him. People have different entry points with these individuals. They may have learned of him through Martha Stewart. They may have learned of him through his music. They may have learned of him through his other products that he's endorsed and sold over the years. It's a pretty amazing dude.
He's a man of many facets.
Yes, he is. I just don't know about commencement speaker. But I mean, you can make the argument, and I'll get into it later. You can make the argument that story has value for then new graduates. I get that. I just don't know how good he is as a public speaker.
Well, listen, we had like the Speaker of the House, Tom Foley, at my graduation, and if you could stay awake through that, I would love to have had somebody from the entertainment world that, everybody, let's just be straight here. You show up for your graduation ceremony with a crippling hangover, okay? That's the law. It's what everybody does. There's no point denying it. And so if you have somebody that's even remotely interesting, that really makes it more bearable.
I remember ours. Well, actually, I don't remember. I remember the name. I remember that he was speaking. I don't remember anything he said. It was Senator Bill Bradley at my graduation. Couldn't tell you a thing that he said. It wasn't memorable in the least. No big deal. But, the people there, we were happy to be graduating. Some of us were sober. Most of us were not. So it didn't really matter what he was saying. None of us remember. We were day drinking. That much I do remember. And it wasn't a good idea because it was in the sun and it was May. It was hot outside and people were ready to pass out.
But you were day drinking because you love your country. I went to a friend's graduation from medical school and they had the late actor Rod Steiger give the commencement speech. And he was just clearly insane. But it was so entertaining. I'm jealous of anybody who gets somebody entertaining at a graduation speech.
Rod Steiger, was he insane or on something?
I don't know. 6 of one, half a dozen of the other. But he was fun. I mean, as opposed to just listening to some gas bag thrown on there for a half hour while you're fighting to keep your eyes open.
Oh, I know. Mine was boring. Boring. All the platitudes, all the cliches. I remember some of them like, you have your whole life in front of you. You're the leaders of tomorrow. We're turning the world over to you. Please take care of it. All that kind of stuff. It's just like,
you hear Charlie Brown's teacher.
Wah, 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 wah.
Now, think of how lucky people are who get, say, Conan O'Brien as their commencement speaker. I'm jealous of all that.
Yeah, I don't know. It'd be interesting to find out how people are responding to it. Now, I know that Snoop, if I'm not mistaken, and correct me if I'm wrong, Tuala, I think Snoop has made some sizable donations to the university over the years in a way that Dre has as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And I can promise you this, Snoop, even off the top, is a great speaker.
Okay.
He is a great speaker. I have seen some of his speeches that he's given to his football team and as they're graduating high school and as they're moving along in his team. Off the top, he knows how to pull from where he came to inspire you to go further and beyond. This is going to be a treat for the UCLA students. Or
Did
USC.
Snoop go to college?
Not that I know of. He might have
went
done
to
some.
the College of the Hood.
He went to
Hard Knocks,
he went to Long Beach Poly though, high school, right?
Yeah, he did. He went and he was there alongside Cameron Diaz.
That's right.
They were the same graduating class. And then he became a rapper and the rest is history.
All right, that does create a minor degree of cognitive dissonance.
Why is that? Because he didn't go to college?
Yeah.
That's actually kind of common. You will hear a lot of college speakers, commencement speakers who may not have gone to college or followed the traditional educational path, but because their life was so extraordinary, they end up being commencement speaker. And that's why I think that there's an appeal. We'll get into it next hour, but there's a lot to say about Snoop Dogg and being the commencement speaker for USC, but we'll get to that later. It's later with Mo Kelly. KFI AM 640, we have a Dodgers update, 2 or 3 of them actually. We're live everywhere in the iHeartRadio app.
You're listening to Later with Mo Kelly on demand from KFI AM 640.
KFI AM 640 is Later with Mo Kelly, live everywhere on the iHeartRadio app. It's time for World Champion Dodger Baseball. Tomorrow, Thursday, the Dodgers take on the Detroit Tigers for opening day at Dodger Stadium. First pitch at 4:10 p.m. You can listen to every game on the iHeartRadio app, keyword AM 570 LA Sports, our partner station. Brought to you in part by Harry Potter and the Cursed Child, now at the Hollywood Pantages. Visit BroadwayInHollywood.com. And also, if you're a Dodger fan like me, There's something in it for you, and it starts today. To celebrate the Dodgers' home opening game tomorrow, they even started the promotion a day early. You can enjoy a $6 2-item Panda plate, as in Panda Express, following any Dodgers home game victory this season. The offer is redeemable the next day and will be available throughout the season. You got it. A $6 2-item Panda plate the next day after a Dodgers home game victory. To take advantage of this offer, you must be a Panda Rewards member and enter the code DodgersWin in the app. I'm not even a member, and I'm going to sign up today just for this. I love me some Panda Express, so they got me in.
Is there someone who could retrieve some of that for us right now?
I guess Stefan could. He doesn't have to do anything for the rest of the show.
That'd be great. Thank you, Stefan.
Could.
Especially since Stefan threw out my emergency meatloaf that I was going to use tonight. If you could get us some Panda Express,
for that one.
I would love that.
So it's a true story then, Stefan.
Yeah, it is.
Don't you know to keep your hands to yourself and don't touch other people's food?
I would, but when I was cleaning out the freezer, the box deteriorated.
Wait a minute. Since when was cleaning out the freezer your damn job?
When the door couldn't close that well anymore. So I was like worried that we wouldn't be able to use it anymore.
Oh, so you're making executive decisions about who could stay and who had to go.
Pretty much.
So you ended up throwing out someone's food, which was still going to be eaten.
If he ate it, I would love to see the 24 hours after. I know that would not have settled well in his system.
I'm sure you meant well, Foosh, but you try that in prison, you're going to get shanked.
It is not your place, Stefan, to make the decision.
But there's a way for you to make it right. You can go get us Panda Express. And we'll be friends again.
He's not wrong.
It's not a bad idea. I mean, I could cover it. I just can't go physically get it.
Oh, goodness. All right. This is what we'll do. We'll have Tuwala work the board. All right. Mark will come in and do this show, and I'll do the news.
and then I'll
What's not to like?
It's like musical chairs. Switch.
Yeah.
Anyhow, let me get back to Dodgers baseball, which officially begins tomorrow. And also, the announcement was made a couple of days ago that the Dodgers plan to visit President Donald Trump at the White House to celebrate their World Series victory for the 2024 season. They released a statement and said that it would visit the White House, quote, in keeping with long-standing baseball tradition, close quote. That's interesting because if you know the history, back in 2020, when the Dodgers last won before the 2024 season, the team waited until the following summer, I would say intentionally, when Joe Biden was in office to make their presidential White House visit. And you may remember the Dodgers manager, Dave Roberts, he originally did not want to visit with President Trump. And this goes back to my conversations with Jackie Ray and our more general conversations. Like, yeah, it's perceived as kind of a political event, unfortunately. And you put these teams and players in positions where they feel they have to make a decision. Back in 2019, when Mookie Betts, before he got to the Dodgers, he was playing with the Boston Red Sox and they won the World Series that year. Mookie Betts declined to go to the White House. I'm not saying that Dave Roberts or Mookie Betts or any other Dodgers will have any misgivings. I'm saying that it's part of the story because it's complicated like that. So when you report on the Dodgers going to see or I should say going to visit the White House and see President Trump, then you have to throw in the context of everything which happened before. I'm quite sure it will be fine. I'm sure it will be fine. But still, there's always this cloud over the whole meeting just because of where we are as a country right now. I don't fault the Dodgers for going. I wouldn't fault the Dodgers if they didn't go. I said it before and I'll say it again. It may be a tradition, but I think it's for the best that the tradition is brought to an end so we don't have all this speculation. We won't have this discomfort. And hopefully we can just get back to doing what we usually do. And I also say the other side of it is when you have the president going to, I'll say, wrestling events or the Super Bowl or NASCAR or some other sporting event, you further cloud the issue. we can't have it both ways. If we want politics to stay out of sports, and stop forcing sports to then go visit politicians and the White House. That's the easy way around it. So that's coming up on April 7th. We'll see if this going to be anything to that. You say, well, why April 7th? Well, they'll be in Washington, D.C. playing the Washington Nationals. So if you were to do it, that's the best time to do it. And also, if you've never been to Washington, D.C., in April with the cherry blossoms, it's a most beautiful time to visit the city. If you've never been, I highly recommend that you visit the nation's capital, be able to take in the history of our country, visit the monuments, see what the city has to offer. And I don't know if, Mark, have you ever been to DC?
I have, yes.
Did you go college age or just for business?
I went there right after I graduated when I was being recruited for a job.
Oh, that's right. I remember the job. You told me about the job. Mm-hmm. I remember when I went to Georgetown in D.C., this is in the late 80s, early 90s. This is pre-internet. I had, I would say, the privilege, not the burden, but the privilege of researching my papers at the Library of Congress.
Oh, man.
You know what I mean? If you have any sense of history or appreciation for history, to walk into the Library of Congress and do what you need to do, it's something special. Now, if you've grown up with the internet, you may not appreciate having that type of resource. But when you're in college and there is no such thing as the internet, it's the best resource probably arguably in the world.
I was already jealous of you just for having access to the exorcist steps there. You had a good time. Except when you say do what you need to do in the Library of Congress, that sounds like you were scoping out the men's room.
No. Nothing like that happened. Nothing like John Wick happened either. Nothing like that. It's just to have such resources and be in the nation's capital, to visit the different monuments which have been there for hundreds of years, walk those same steps, to walk by. Well, actually, when I was in school, and you'll be able to appreciate this, Mark, when I was in school, obviously this is pre 9/11. You could get very close to the White House. You could walk in front of the gates. You can get very close to the gates. Actually, you could drive in front of the White House. You can no longer do that. They push you so far back, it doesn't have the same type of impact.
This was back in the old days before you had to have a full body cavity search just to get on an airplane and everything else.
Right. It's a different time, different world. But if you ever have a chance to go, relating back to the Dodgers, go to the nation's capital and take in America's history. There's so much to see. Go to, obviously, the Library of Congress. Go to the monuments down on the mall, to walk up in the Lincoln Memorial, or to see the Washington Monument up close. It will change you in a way. And two times ago, I finally got to see the King Memorial. It's an emotional experience, I would say, for most people.
You would have to be pretty jaded not to be awestruck by all the stuff there.
And you can't do it all, usually in one trip. You just can't. So that's why I would say I try to get back every single year for one reason or another, so I can take it in a different part of the city.
Sounds like a bro trip.
Yeah, I don't know if I'm inviting you, though. I don't know. I don't like you that much.
No, you will.
Okay. It's Later with Mo Kelly. KFI AM 640. We're live everywhere on the iHeartRadio app. Got some bad news when we come back. Well, it's not necessarily bad news, but it's some honest news. Our economy is changing. Our buyer habits and our consumerism is changing. We're buying things just in a different way. Kohl's is closing a lot of locations. Walgreens confirmed plans to shut down 500 stores. And there's more. We'll tell you about it in just a moment.
You're listening to Later with Mo Kelly on demand from KFI AM 640.
It's closing time for another department store, or actually most department stores. And it's not that we're buying less. It's not that we're spending less money. It's how we're choosing to spend our money. It's the way that we're willing to hand over our money. Kohl's, I've been there maybe twice in the past 10 years, and I couldn't tell you what I went in there for, and I can't tell you if I even bought anything. But this is what I can tell you. Whatever they offer at Kohl's, I can find online quicker, with no driving, and possibly at a lower price. That's what all these retailers are dealing with. We talked about Macy's last week. Now it's time to talk about Kohl's. Kohl's is going to be shuttering some 24 stores on March 29th. And it's a part of a larger strategy to close most of their quote-unquote underperforming stores. As far as California is concerned, they're going to close the Balboa, San Diego store, the Encinitas, Fremont, Napa, Pleasanton, Point West, which is in Sacramento, San Rafael, San Luis Obispo, and Westchester, all being closed. And it also lists the other locations around the country which are going to be closed. And if you were to ask me, and maybe I'm the wrong person to ask, I assume I could ask Mark and I could ask Stephen or Tuwala, and I'm not sure they would be able to give a coherent answer. It wouldn't be their fault, but it's about being able to distinguish yourself as a retailer. What is it that Kohl's sells that you cannot get anywhere else? When someone says Kohl's to me, and I'm not trying to be dismissive, well, not really, not completely, but when you say Kohl's to me, I think of Bed Bath & Beyond, and they sell clothes too. They do a little bit of this, a little bit of that, but nothing that I can only go to Kohl's to get, which is a little different than I would say maybe Home Depot. There are still things that I gotta go to Home Depot to actually get, or I need cut, or I need a certain type of device, or I need something for my bathroom. I have to go to Home Depot. And I think that's part of the reason why Home Depot is still hanging around. But I can't think of anything that is out of Kohl's that I couldn't get online in about the same amount of time.
I hate to agree with you, as we all know, but my limited exposure to Kohl's, I've been there a few times back when I worked at a newspaper in Indiana, it seemed to me, and I could be wrong, it seemed to me like kind of a lower rent JCPenney.
Yeah. You know what? And I would say Kohl's is a little above JCPenney.
Oh, do you think? Okay. Well, yeah, it's kind of a photo finish.
You know, 6 on one hand, half a dozen on the other. I think of JCPenney as Kmart lowest tier.
Really?
Yeah, okay. Kohl's is more just a tiny step above that. Not much. Maybe because the stores don't seem as old and dingy if you were to walk into them as opposed to a Penny's. I don't know if they call it JCPenney or Penny's now. I don't know.
Well, we'll get that sorted out as soon as we get daylight saving and savings sorted out.
Well, I would like to say savings because like a savings account, I'm not saving just one thing. I'm saving a lot of things. So it's savings to me, but I'm always corrected when I say daylight savings.
No, I think you've settled it. It always struck me as one of those kind of places in the mall where you just walk right past it. You see the opening, you hear the crickets, and you just keep walking. You
mean the JCPenney crickets?
Kohl's.
Well, I think of Kohl's more as a stand-alone building, or at least the one in Torrance is. It's not connected to a mall. Well, there's one in Torrance, and I think there's two in Torrance. One by on like Crenshaw, I think. On the way to PCH, if I'm not mistaken.
And then there's the one on Hawthorne, and that one actually is connected to Macy's.
That's right.
So, yeah. I'm actually kind of surprised that this happened, because I thought when Kohl's got in bed with Amazon, it was so easy to send returns back, because you don't even need your receipt. As long as you just brought the package back and they scanned the actual the sticker that was on the box, that's all you needed, and you were good to go. And I thought that was cool, and you're going to get more foot traffic.
It's interesting you say that, because Kohl's confirmed that it was stopping its Amazon return services at most of their locations as part of a test, because they thought that they would be able to make more money not having to deal with that portion of the Amazon business. So they tried to connect themselves to online retailing, if you will, but they weren't able to make it work. And it's not just Kohl's. I mean, we told you about Macy's last week, and Walgreens is closing 500 stores in 33 states because of this retail crisis. And it's a retail crisis. It's about how people choose to conduct commerce. Yes, we're spending money, but if you ask anyone like me, it's eBay, it's Amazon, it's online. It's not these traditional brick and mortar retailers. Anything I need or would need from Walgreens, I am 100% getting from Amazon, and it might even show up the same day, and I don't even have to leave my house. I don't know how financially that works for Amazon, but it sure as hell works for me.
Well, maybe Kohl's learned the lesson. You do not cross Jeff Bezos. It's like crossing the kingpin. You're out of business.
Well, the Washington Post surely learned that lesson. You don't cross Jeff Bezos.
Don't even get me started
It's a
on
new
that.
sheriff in town.
Yep.
We don't have editorials which are criticizing this president, the best president ever.
I just can't. Woodward and Bernstein, if they were dead, they'd be rolling in their graves.
Well, they might die sooner
This might be the last straw.
Yes. 15,000 stores across the country are set to shut down in 2025, talking about the retail crisis, and some 500 Walgreens locations are going to be shutting down. It's the pharmacy store chain, and you've seen more and more how it's become easier to get prescriptions filled. It's easier to do a lot of your medical treatment needs online. If you need a prescription filled, you don't need to go to a Walgreens. You can Amazon. I think Amazon has a medical health division now where you can do all this stuff through Amazon as well.
Yeah, that comes up on my phone, and I'm baffled. I'd like to know who uses that and how it works for them.
I would ask Tawala because he would probably know better than anyone, but I have yet to meet anyone who has done that or used that Amazon health feature or their, the prescription filling feature. But going back to Walgreens, it estimates that a quarter of its 8,700 stores in the U.S., I didn't know they had that many, number one, and Walgreens is saying that 1/4 of those 8,700 stores are not profitable. The company announced the closures despite its fiscal fourth quarter and full year earnings beating Wall Street expectations, but I guess they were low expectations to begin with. Drugstores, as we were kind of talking about, have struggled to stay afloat amid shrinking prescription reimbursement, persistent theft, rising costs, and consumers who have strayed to online retailers or competitors with better prices. Yes, as we were saying. But this is not, and I always want to make the distinction, this is not a failure of our economy. This is an evolution of our economy. When people make decisions to buy something, how we buy it and where we buy it has just been changing. We have a generation of people who are now comfortable with doing anything and everything online. I am old enough to remember when the .coms first started proliferating, people were, including me, were very reticent to buy certain things online. I would never buy a pair of shoes online back in the day or a pair of jeans. I needed to go into the store and actually put them on, try them on, make sure they fit well. Now it's like if you know your size and you're buying a familiar brand, why not? I'll go to Levi's.com or I'll go to Nike.com and buy exactly what I want because I know it's going to fit and not what I say is waste my time driving to a particular location to see if they might have that one item I want, be disappointed and pissed off when I realize they don't have it like the Levi's I would want. And then I have to then drive somewhere else or waste more time trying to find them wherever they might be in the city when I know I could literally, during a commercial break, just bring up their online website and a few clicks, and it's on the way.
And that's one less human being you have to deal with who's probably going to use the word unfortunately to you if they don't have something.
Yeah, it's like, do you need me to call another store for you? No, I don't want you to call another store. Or you have the salesperson that's like, yes, all right, can I interest you in a Macy's account today? No, you cannot.
Oh, I love that the most, when they upsell you
10%.
After they've already asked you if there's anything else and you say, no, just this, please.
Right, and it's like, well, you can receive 10% off your purchase today. No, thank you. Can I no. Well, what? No. How about it? No. It's always something else. And then they want you to input your email so they can send you a receipt. Would you like the receipt in the bag, or would you like us to invade your privacy and send you an email for here until eternity?
And you thought it was invasive when Radio Shack used to do that.
They were the forerunners of all this. It is just those are the things they just want to avoid.
I was just going to say, it reminds me of when you try to get Eddie Murphy, right? Eddie Murphy.
It was Eddie Murphy. Yes, yeah. It's true. Let me tell people.
No. Yeah, go ahead.
For people who don't know, every time Eddie Murphy tries to come out with something, I will reach out to his person, Arnold Robinson, and it's a running joke. I send him a message, got his email, Rogers and Cowan. He's nice enough to respond, but he'll respond in like 10 minutes. I'll say, I would like to see if we can work out a time for which Eddie Murphy can come on the show. He responds immediately, Eddie's not available. But I didn't tell you what day. And it got to be a running joke. And I even told us, like, Arnold, I know you're not going to say yes, but at least act like you're considering the request. So now it's almost like he says no before I can even get the request out my mouth. I say, hi, this is Morso Kelly from Later with Mo Kelly. We'd like to see if Eddie could come on. And before I can finish the sentence, I've already got a return email saying no.
It's a standing no.
It's every single time. I have never gotten past the first email. I'll make the request. Hi, can we get Eddie on? Hi, is Eddie available? What about if we tried? Eddie Murphy, come on the show, please. Can we get Eddie Murphy to come? Can I finish at least my email, please? Arnold Robinson, your mother is a KFI AM 640. It's almost time. So the next time Eddie Murphy comes out with something, I am going to literally, at the beginning of the show, email Arnold Robinson.
Yes.
And I promise you, he will respond before the end of the show with a sorry, but Eddie's not available. I promise you it will happen. We're live everywhere on the iHeartRadio app.
You're listening to Later with Mo Kelly on demand from KFI AM 640.
Mr. Mo Kelly, he warns us all. Says autonomous vehicles might be our downfall. But then Tuwala comes on and claims it's all under control. He says Mo Kelly is wrong, but Mo thinks he's on the payroll.
He is.
Of Waymo.
He is.
Cause Waymo be bad. Run you over. Waymo be bad. Run over grand. Waymo be bad. Run you over. Waymo be bad. The end of us all.
KFI, Mr. Bo Kelly, live everywhere on the iHeartRadio app. And this is how we know that Tuwala Sharp is on the payroll. He's on the take when it comes to Waymo. Each and every week or month, whenever we talk about Waymo, Tuwala Sharp always leaves out the most important information, the negative information. Did you know this? In May, the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration opened an investigation after receiving 22 reports about Waymo robotaxis exhibiting driving behavior that potentially violated traffic safety laws or demonstrating other unexpected behavior, including 17 collisions. The NHTSC said several incidents involved collisions with clearly visible objects that a competent driver would be expected to avoid. Waymo last June recalled 672 of its self-driving vehicles after one of its driverless cars struck a wooden utility pole in Phoenix. In February 2024, Waymo recalled 444 self-driving vehicles after two minor collisions in quick succession in Arizona, saying a software error could result in automated vehicles inaccurately predicting the movement of a towed vehicle. And now they're expanding Waymo into Washington, D.C. What could go wrong?
All of these salacious.
We're out of time.
headlines
KFI AM 640. We're live
This
everywhere. The
is
iHeartRadio app.
Trash, I say.
Look at the time. We got to go to commercial. I'm sorry. You were saying?
This is absolutely an unjust mischaracterization of Waymo. They are expanding into your beloved DC.
Yes, they are.
And they can only do so because all the things you point out have already been vetted and cleared. I like how you bring those stats up, but those are stats that have already been, again, vetted and cleared. That's why they can expand.
Burying this. We've had any number of conversations. You didn't reference
you know
this.
what else I bury? I bury the fact that there are actually sexual predators that are stealing and usurping rideshare users' identities just so they can go out and prey on people. There's a huge story right now that's breaking about all of the sexual predatory behavior of rideshare drivers. But I didn't want to bring that up because you know why? It's not germane to the success of Waymo.
This is not about whether Stefan is a threat to the public as an Uber driver.
Deflection, distraction.
Right. Denial.
This is
minimization.
This is what I'm talking about when I'm trying to just make sure that we are focusing on the positive. You want to drug up negative headlines with no basis, no fact, because they've already been cleared.
Yes. Waymo is going to start its autonomous ride-hailing service in Washington, D.C. next year. They've, in fact, began moving vehicles to the city back in January, and they'll bring more to the city in the coming weeks as it's getting ready to start this service. If you don't know anything about D.C., there are a lot of laws and prohibitions regarding rideshare and especially autonomous vehicles in the city. It's a difficult city to drive if you're not familiar with the grid system. There are a lot of one-way streets. There are a lot of traffic circles. I say that to say there are a lot of potential road hazards and rules that Waymo is going to have to navigate both on the road and also off the road as far as policy for it to gain access to the fullness of Washington, D.C. Now, if they could, it could be very successful because that's a city you don't want to drive in. You want to have someone pick you up and take you, be it Uber, rideshare, a personal driver. By all means, you don't want to have to drive and park a car in Washington, D.C. It is a nightmare.
I rest my case. Thank you very much.
No. There is a use for it. I'm just saying that this technology is dangerous. It's going to get people killed.
It's not. And be careful because you might be sued for that.
Bring it on. Waymo, kiss my ass. We're live everywhere in the iHeartRadio app.
Talk without the tilt.
KFI.
And KOST HD2.
Los Angeles, Orange County.
Live everywhere on the iHeartRadio.